Welcome back to Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions and the Simple Growth team answers them live on Facebook Live. So one of the questions just submitted this week was, what is the best estimate workflow and how to tackle tree and shrub care for fertilizing? This can also be tackled for similar methodology for going out and estimating how to prune shrubs as well. But this one is going to be a workflow, how to actually price it out, how to set up an on-site estimate form for it, and drive a standardized workflow all the way through estimating. So going to be a little bit longer of a video because I'm going to walk through this pretty quickly, but I'm going to break down each step of this, and there's quite a few steps for success on this. So any questions, live or recorded, ask them. Otherwise, we'll hop right in here. Estimate workflow for tree and shrub care. And if you're watching live, if you just give me a thumbs up, make sure the audio is working. That would be helpful just to make sure that you can hear me. So what we're going to do here is go into Service Autopilot. First thing, before we go in and actually create these services, a lot of people will go in and actually implement before they blueprint. And that is the biggest mistake that we see when most people are going into services and adding these services in here. So when I go in to add this service, we want to be able to have a blueprint, and the blueprint is going to be for our rate matrix. So we need to know specific data. So the calculation, what custom field we're basing it on, and the bottom 5 cells on top, and in the bottom over here, the 5 cells. So the 5 cells for the pricing, rate, budget, hours, and cost, top and bottom. That's where if you go in and try to implement before you blueprint, you're going to get into trouble. We see it all the time when people come to New York for these deep dives. People are losing money, not on purpose, but just by default of not putting the information in there and checking it. So that's the benefit of this. So we call this a simple growth blueprint. I use the analogy of building a house. You're not going to build a house and just start putting random doors and windows and everything on the house. You don't want to do that with your estimate grid as well in Matrix in SA. So as we're going in here, I've done a little of the work already just so it's a little bit easier for everybody to digest in the live version here. But what we've done here is we've listed our service in an Excel sheet, or in this example, it's actually a Google sheet. This is what we prefer to use when we do these deep dives in New York. So we give our clients a copy of this to take home and work with, and then they have a blueprint 5-6 months later. How did we build it? And we can check their profit percentages. So as we go in here, service number 6 is small shrub to fertilize. So for every small shrub, we're charging $6.60. That's our labor and materials. These prices are somewhat fictitious, so don't try to manipulate these as a pricing model, but it's going to give you the methodology how we do it. We're going to give them 0.02 minutes or hours, 0.02 hours to do that. So if we multiply that by 60, I believe that is 2 minutes. So we've got, or actually 1 minute, I'm sorry. So we've got 1 minute for the small shrub and probably 2 minutes for the medium shrub. That's how many minutes it actually is to apply the product and walk over to it. Then we have a break-even cost. So what it costs us before we make a profit. So labor and overhead and the material of the actual fertilizer or fungicide or whatever we're using. So we've got our cost per material per plant here is $1 per plant. So we're going to go in and multiply our labor break-even, or an expense per man-hour break-even. So this is our net profit after total overhead expense hourly and the cost of materials per plant. So that is the profit here. Fictitiously is $5 profit per plant and a 75% net profit margin. So we're saying for every 1 plant, we're charging $6.60. A small shrub is going to be under 3 feet. It's the same methodology we use when we do shrub pruning. So we're able to capture the data and be able to use that same data for both types of services if you do both. So for every 1 shrub is $6.60, 0.02 man hours, and a $1.60 in expense, labor and materials, and full overhead before we make a profit. And then we're saying every 1 shrub over the base price of 1 shrub is an additional $6.60, 0.02 hours and 60 cents. So obviously this is why we want to blueprint this. So you're looking at it going, wait a minute, 0.06 and 0.16. So you want to go in and make sure that we're driving the formulas. This is exactly why we blueprint it. So I was in a hurry when I actually built this out. So this possibly could have went right in the system if we didn't go through this and look at it the way it should be. So as we're going through here, Now we've got medium shrubs to fertilize. 1-to-1, $7.60 for that medium shrub, 0.03 man hours, and a break-even labor and materials 0.20. So that is going to have to be updated here for that to be correct. So now we're going into large shrubs. So your medium shrubs are going to be 3 feet to 6 feet, or just on 3 feet to less than 6 feet, and then your large shrub is 6 foot to 10 foot. Those are the industry standards we've adopted when we've done this. So all our large shrubs are going to be $8.60 each, 0.04 hours to do it, and $2.44. Obviously, this is a fictitious example. Our cost of materials would probably go up based on the size of the plant as well. But I'm just going to kind of give you the workflow here so you can see how this is built out, what it looks like at the end of the day. So I've got a small tree, same methodology. I've got a medium tree, and I've got a large tree. Now, underneath each one of these here, we're going to have our number of small trees, number of medium trees, and we're going to have our number of large trees. So those are basically the 6 services that we need to create in Service Autopilot. We've got all of them here. I'm going to scroll back up, and there's our small shrub. So what I'm going to do is go into Service Autopilot and go in and create the calculation. And I've already have the custom field of small shrubs in here, I believe, from our shrub example we did. And then I'm going to literally copy this over into there. So I'm going to go in and pull this to the other screen here so you can actually see what that looks like. So back into Service Autopilot, we've got 1-to-1 shrubs is $6.60. Budgeted hours right off our blueprint is 0.02, and it's $1.60 before profit. So now we're going to go in and put every 1-to-1 shrub is $6.60, 0.02 more time, and 1.6. So now we have this set up where we have the calculation, the custom field, and the to and from methodology for the back end of this service. So we need to go in under details and name it. Number of small shrubs to fertilize. So I'm going to copy that in. Basically, we need to have the number of shrubs, our code. We got to have an invoice description. Just for time, I'm pasting these in here. We got to have an account. We've got to have the service mode is going to be per unit. And then in estimates, we are going to paste that in there. Those are the basic things that we need for that service. I'm going to hit save and new. And it looks like I forgot to put an invoice description. That or didn't catch it. There we go. And we're going to save and new. So now the process would be, as we're going in, just so we're not wasting a lot of time in the Facebook Live, is we're going to go in and create the small, medium, large shrubs, the small, medium, large trees. But the one thing we're missing is we've got to have a parent service. So I'm going to call it tree and shrub treatment. And we're going to load those in there per unit. And it should be everything we need. Okay, so now that we've got those in there, if you're wondering how to make a custom field under the gear icon, under custom, add a custom field, and I'm going to say number of small trees. And it's associated to the customer, and the value type is going to be a number, so we can run the mathematical equation off that. We may also want to put that on the printable work order in case we have a work order going out and the crew wants to see how many small, large, and medium trees they may have. But the idea is create your custom or create your blueprint, just like the simple growth blueprint here. Name it, create the custom field of what you're going to call it. Go into SA, you create your custom field. Then you create your service, you connect the custom field with a calculation and your matrix transferring from here into SA, and now we are going to go into SA. So now we've created our custom field, we've created our service and our parent service of shrub and fertilizing. Now the next step is going to be going into marketing forms and creating a form. So this is your on-site estimate form where you're walking around the property and basically entering the data in to create that estimate. So I'm going to call this 20 dot shrub and fert form. So this is the 20 dot on-site shrub and fert form. So once again, the main things you need in a estimate or a form to be live in the field and map back is we want to go in, we need name and address. This is to create a client. When you click on the name, we need to map that back to first name, last name. Address needs to go back to service address. Now you can add other things such as phone number and some other contact information, but at bare minimal, this is what you need. What we're going to do is go in and add fields. We're going to go grab a number, just like we built the custom field as a number associated to the customer. Now we can go in and create this and map it back to that. So I'm going to go in and say number of small shrubs to fertilize. And then we would add additional fields. I'm not going to do all of them for this example, but the next one would be number of medium shrubs to fertilize. All right, so now we have these in here, but unfortunately they're firing off to the great abyss. They're not tracking anything. So what you'd want to do is click in the actual line item here and go map to custom field and pull in the number of small shrubs. Go to medium, map it to custom field. Number of medium shrubs. We list all these out: small, medium, large shrubs, small, medium, large trees. So I'm going to put the, actually I'll leave this here, but this could also capture the data for shrub pruning as well. So under form settings, the last thing you need here is we're going to go in and put auto approve, create on submit, and we're going to auto approve and create on submit a lead by default. And that's about all we need. Under form layout, maybe we go in and throw our estimate logo on here so this is branded up. But at basics, you need first name, last name, map back, address, map back to service address, and text or number fields that are mapped back to the custom field for small, medium, and large shrubs and small, medium, and large trees. Now we're going to save that. So next step is we're going to go in and grab a test client. And the workflow here is the A for auto assist for automations is a great shortcut key. So you're going to want this if you need to use this on your desktop or your laptop out in the field. We're going to put a link in there, shortcut link. So we click on that, that's going to open that up, and we'll put that in here. So I'm going to go in, add a form. On-site FERT, I'm going to call it. And when we go into 20 dot on-site estimate form, shrub and fertilizer, it's linking it, and we can add an icon there. So this is a shortcut. So the final thing is we need to go out and create a estimate template. Now, your FERT and shrubs are probably going to go into a package where you do several rounds of them. I'm not going to go into building out a master package, but it's more of the estimate workflow up to this point. So we'd go in here under the gear icon, and we're going to create out an estimate document for this really quickly. So we're going to go to our document editor. actually, I'm probably, before I do that, I'm going to go in and just go to templates, job estimate templates, and make a really generic template just so we can see it as a proof of concept. So we're going to add a template. Like I said, you're probably going to be using a package for this, but this is how you would create each one of these jobs inside that package. I'm going to show when I do jobs and estimates both, and I'm going to add my item of my shrub, tree, and plant parent service. And then underneath that, I'm going to create a service underneath it for small shrub to fertilize. And I'm going to create another service in there for a medium if we built it. And we did not, but that would be the same idea. So we would continue to put our medium, large shrubs all as child services. If this is a one-time service, if it's a package job, you can't have child services underneath it. But this would be the idea how you treat this. So you would go in and have all your small, medium, and large underneath. And then you're going to select an estimate document. So I'm going to grab one in here that should represent a decent workflow, and then I'm going to save and close it. So now what we're going to do is pull up our test client. And if we were walking around the property, we would measure these out. Now what you could do is go to property measurements on Maps Pro and get a pretty good idea. Or if your estimate request form required your consumer to take a picture of all the landscape beds they wanted treated, you could probably measure it or estimate it live right through the pictures. And on the estimate request form, we covered it in another video, we can hit allow attachment. So that would give you that ability. So we're going to go into satellite here and take a look at this house here. I'm not sure quite candidly if we're going to be able to see it, but it's worth a shot. And I'm going to throw this little guy over here. And being on a cul-de-sac, this might be a tough one. So I may just try a street view somewhere else. Let me try another test client here. So as we're going in, a lot of times you can do this right from the satellite. Obviously, the first one, you could not. You'd have to show up. We're going to pull out that on-site estimate form right in your phone and walk through that. But if we're pulling this property measurement up here, let's take a look at this example to see if this actually could help you. And then I'll show you how to fill the form out and drive the estimate process. So taking a look at this here, it may be pretty obvious looking at this here with the height of the porch that how many small, medium, and large shrubs we have. These would probably all qualify at the under 3 foot mark. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 there. So if I go in and hop back to the other satellite version and spin this around, might be hard to tell, but if those stairs are lined up with this, that's probably definitely under 3 feet. There's only 2 steps there. Got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. So we could add it up that way. But obviously, if you're walking around, you can use the mobile as well. But that is a way that we have done that in the past. So the idea is hit the A for auto assist once you have that total from the map or walking around. We're going to go to the on-site estimate form. All the information loads in now because we mapped it, but we put the number of shrubs to do as 9, and let's just say there was 1 medium. Obviously, we don't have that on our generic template we've built, but the idea is to fill this out while you're walking around in your mobile or from the satellite, hit submit, scroll down, hit add an estimate, and all that data from your on-site estimate form for the number of shrubs based on the height and the production time, the price, and break-even labor and materials will automatically populate now. So we're going to go in, hit templates here once this loads, and see if this works, because we just built it live, and it should, but we'll see if we didn't miss any steps along the way. So comments or questions on the recorded version or the live version right now, feel free to drop them in. Or if you have any suggestions for the next upcoming Callahan's Corner, happy to do that as well. And tree and shrub. So as advertised, it has it in here, 9 small shrubs for $59, 0.18 hours, and a cost of $14.40 before profit. So what we would do is, if we wanted that, we would go in and hit quote, draft a quote here, scroll down, hit save. We are going to email it to the client. A pre-templated email should load. And we are going to send that out. And then on my other screen here, I'll pull over my email so you can see what the final product looks like generically. But comments, questions on how we did that workflow, any other questions, happy to answer them live or recorded. And if you have any other topics for Callahan's Corner, feel free to drop them in. You ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook Live. And the email here is just as advertised, coming in, view my proposal, and this estimate will load. So I've got a boilerplate example here, but we've got our tree and shrub treatment at $59. Now the consumer has no idea. We've gone out and counted the shrubs, so obviously that's beneficial. We've got our invoice details, general contract terms, a couple clickable buttons, videos that talk about what's included, what's not included. We overcome any sales or price objections. These bad boys actually pay live inside the estimate too. So great way to automate yourself as the salesperson. And in addition, depending on your state laws, if you need to have product labels that are linkable, we can link these buttons back to the actual labels or your website that houses them. At the bottom, they can click and assign the document and print their name, hit accept. They're going to get an automated email here in a second, letting us know that they letting the consumer know that we have acknowledged their acceptance on it. And back in Service Autopilot now, this estimate should be changed to the status of 1, and it'll be tucked up in the header here. And here's the estimates. And on top, we are ready to schedule. And once this loads, we're going to have some other information on here that's really important. As far as the upper right-hand corner is going to have the time and date stamped IP address, and then under attachments, we'll have a clickable signed agreement by the consumer that can be printed out. So comments or questions, drop them below. Hopefully it was helpful. That would be my opinion on the expert workflow for going out and estimating tree and shrub. You count the number of shrubs, small, medium, and large. Small are going to be under 3 feet. Large or medium are going to be 3 feet to under 10 or under 10. I'm sorry, under 6 feet. What could happen on Facebook Live and go wrong? So once again, small is under 3 feet. Medium is 3 to under 6 feet, and then 6 to 10 is your large types of shrubs. And then we've broken that down in small, large, and medium trees as well. So we're going to get the blueprint together, figure out our custom field, set up our custom field, set up the service off the blueprint. We're going to create our form, link the custom fields back in the form, create it on auto submit and map it back to a lead update. And then we collect the data in the form. We open up the estimate and the property specific details load. Turnkey solution. Anybody can go out and literally measure and set up your estimate process without having any history or background in tree or shrub fertilizing. So hopefully it was helpful. We'll see you again at Callahan's Corner tomorrow.